G'day, welcome back to another episode of Larrikin Japan. Today I want to have a talk about some foreigners who come here and all they do is whinge and whine about everything. It doesn't matter what it is, they're always complaining. Now, doing this will not do you any favors in Japan. Japanese people really don't like you complaining about stuff. So, police have got a car there. Don't know what they were doing, but the police nabbed them. So yeah, it won't do you any favours complaining about stuff. Now, like some guys, in summer here, it's hot and humid. They're always complaining about the weather. It's so hot, it's so humid, I can't live, blah, blah, blah. Shogunai, you're not going to change the weather. That's just how it is. You know what it's like before you come here. You know it's hot and humid in Japan. And it is hot and humid. So just suck it up, buttercup. That's about it. You know, and you get other blokes that are always complaining about, I don't feel good and all this sort of stuff. Like, I worked with a guy when I was at the schools. And he was always complaining about he didn't feel good or this sort of, you know, I feel crook or I got a headache or I got a cold or, you know, my back's sore, or this has happened, or, you know, my grandmother just died, or whatever, you know, my goldfish is sick and he's going to die, you know, like, who really cares, you know? And it got to the stage I used to avoid him like a rash, you know, like, I didn't want to hear this all the time, you know, so, and I ran into some teachers who were working with him, and they said, what's wrong with that guy? Every day there's something wrong with him, you know, and they said, we think we know what he does. He complains and he's crook, and you know, so, and he'll go tell like the principal, the vice principal, and this sort of thing. He thinks like they are happy because he comes to work when he's not feeling good and this sort of stuff, and they let him go home early and that. They said, we just think he's lazy and he doesn't want to work. I said, you're probably right. So, you know, they pick up on this sort of thing. And people complain about their jobs. Oh, this job's boring, or, you know, the money's no good, or, you know, it's too hard, or whatever. You know, if you don't like your job, it's easy. Find a new one. Just quit. Get a new job. That's easy. Don't complain about your job. People don't want to hear you complain about the job. Japanese don't complain about their job. They just get in, do it, and go home. You know, they work, some work very long hours. They'll start in the morning and they might not finish till 9, 10 o'clock at night. They'll go home, have dinner, go to bed, and do the same thing the next day. You know, like, they don't complain about this sort of stuff. So you've really got to be careful on what you do, on how you act, your manner, because they don't like it. They won't say they don't like it. They're pretty polite, Japanese, but yeah, they don't like it. Like where I live, there's 13 houses in my area. So every 12 years, you have to be area leader. It goes from house to house. Everyone gets a turn. Now, it is a pain. You have to organise a lot of things. You have to go to a meeting once a month and different things. But everybody has to do it. So there's no good complaining about it. Nobody likes doing it. But that's just the way it is. You have to do it. You know, like, our rates are quite cheap in Japan. Like, much cheaper than in Australia or something. Rates in Australia are really expensive because you have the council. They do a lot of things. You know, they have garbage trucks coming around. We don't have garbage trucks. We do have garbage trucks, but they go not to every house. They go to a drop-off spot. So you have to put your rubbish in a plastic bag, take it to that drop-off spot, drop it off, and then it's all collected together. So this saves them a lot of money. They don't have to have as many trucks going around and as much time. So this is one thing. You know, we have in my area we have river cleaning. We have to go clean the river. There's a video about it, you can have a look. And this happens once a year. Last month we had to clean the community centre and the shrine. So you do that once a year. Things like this you just have to do, and it's no good complaining about it. Everybody does it. You just go and do it, and it's not bad. You meet the people in your area, have a bit of a talk to them and different things. It's okay. It's a bit of a social thing, and you get on well with the people in your area. So there are things that are not a bit of a pain, but you just have to do them. That's just the way it is. There's no good complaining about it. Nobody likes doing this area leader job. It is a real pain, but it's something you just have to do. So you do it. Once every 12 years you have to do it. So, but yeah, you get foreigners. This is wrong how they do this. They should do it this way. They think they're going to change Japan on how they do things. That's not going to happen. Japan's been doing things their own way for years and years and years. They're not going to change their idea because you complain about it should be done this way. They'll just think you're a weirdo, So, yeah, you just got to be really careful living here on how you act, because they're, different things. Now, I'll give you an example. When I first started teaching, so, nearly 30 years ago, I was working at it was a pretty big school then. We had like 10 classes per grade, so we had 30 classes. There were 40 kids in a class, so it was a really big school. Anyway, there was a spare room next to the English teaching, English staff room. So there was a room there, and it used to be like a listening lab sort of thing. They had old CD players in there, and they used to listen and that sort of thing. But it was all rubbish by this time. It was years and years old. It was no good. So I wanted to sort of get rid of all this junk and sort of fix it up, and we could make it like a room we could, do lessons in, like when classes had lessons with me, instead of doing it in the classroom, they could come to this room, put posters up around the wall and make it real bit of a fun environment sort of thing, Anyway, I asked the head of the English department, and she said, "Oh, that's very difficult." And I thought, well, I don't really think it is, because I did not understand the hierarchy. So why it was difficult was, now at that time she was in second grade. She was a second grade teacher. So she would have to take my idea and talk to the head of second grade, the teacher in charge of second grade, talk to him about it. Then he would have to go speak to the fourth person in charge of the school and talk to them about it. Then he would have to talk to the third person. The third person would have to talk to the deputy principal. The deputy principal would have to talk to the principal and discuss this sort of thing. It was just so intense the way things had to go. You couldn't just go and talk to the principal about it. It's just not the way things are done. So, I just give up on it. I just give up on the idea. It would have been a good idea, but I just give up because it was just too difficult. Once I found out, one of the other English teachers explained to me how it worked, and I said, "Oh, okay, now I understand why it's difficult." He said, "Yeah." So I sort of learned about that sort of thing. But I also taught at some small schools up in the mountains, some like primary schools, and they didn't have that many kids and that sort of thing. And I used to teach, like from first grade to sixth grade, and I used to teach first and second year together, and the homeroom teachers for those two grades were really nice. There was a man and a woman. They were really nice. So one time, I think it was for Halloween or something, we wanted to do something different, so why don't we have a bit of a cooking class? We make some jellies, or do different things, or make some chocolates. And they said, yeah, that would be a good idea, that we could do something like that. They said, but difficult, we have to see the principal. And I said, well, let me have a talk to him, because it was just a small school. So I went and spoke to him about it. And I said, we can do this, and then we can make enough for all the kids on their school lunch. They can get a jelly and this sort of thing. And he said, oh, that's a good idea. He said, yeah, no problem. He said, just see the deputy principal and get some money off him to buy the stuff you need. So I said, oh, that sounds good. So I told the lady teacher, and she said, oh, that's great. She said, I'll buy all the stuff. And I said, we'll just give the receipts to the deputy principal. He'll refund you the money. She said, oh, great. That was easy, But if they had to do it, it would have been really, really difficult. So you just have to understand the hierarchy, and companies work the same way. Some companies, let's say you start work at 8 o'clock and finish at 5 o'clock, you have to clock in. A lot still have Bundy clocks. You have to clock in before 8 o'clock, and then you can't clock off to 5:01. A minute past, then you can clock off. You can't clock off right on 5 o'clock for some reason. Why? I don't know, but that's just the way it is. I've worked at another company. We couldn't clock off to 15 minutes after knock-off time because they wanted us to clean up the place after we knocked off. So, they were getting an extra hour and a quarter out of us for free each week, So that's, like 5 hours a month they were getting for free. So, but labour laws in this country are sort of a bit different to other countries. You wouldn't get away with that in Australia, but here they can get away with it. So you just have to be real careful on how you do things. But it's no good complaining about stuff. It won't change anything. It'll just you just get classed as a whinger, and it's not going to do you any favours. So you just got to be real careful living here on things you do and how you do things. So it is a bit difficult sometimes, but once you get, I've been here that long. I've been here nearly 30 years. I'm going on 30 years. I've been here 29 years. I'm going on 30 years. Next year in July I've been here 30 years. So I'm sort of used to how a lot of things work now. It doesn't really worry me anymore, or I just don't pay any attention. I don't let it worry me, sort of thing. So you just got to be a bit careful on how you do. So if you do decide to come to Japan to live, be courteous to people. If someone asks you how are you, if you don't feel good, bad luck. Just say, oh yeah, I'm good. No problem. They don't want to hear you crook. So yeah. And just get in, do your job, do whatever, and you make friends and you have a good time. So yeah, anyway, that's it for today. It's just about, if you do come to Japan, don't be that whinging, whining foreigner. Anyway, till next time, have a good one.